Welcome to All Up Inc. www.hankphotography.com, www.hanksreviews.com. Thanks for joining me today. Real quick video today about high-speed sync. I want to go into that real quick. I want to share that with you a little bit, let you know what I'm up to. Been practicing with my trusty 5D Mark II, no. 5D Mark III, no. 5DSR, no. My 5D. Anyway, I've got the Cells 2 trigger on the back of that, and been using my Godox flash here, and that's the V850. I'm really loving it. So anyway, I've got high-speed sync up to 1/1/8,000th of a second with my 5D and my Godox manual flash, not a TTL flash. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about high-speed sync and what it does. So let's say we have the sun and it's really bright and we have a subject between ourselves and the sun, or it's just a bright day and we've got the sun popping off of our subject. What we end up having is some really harsh shadows, and we need to use a much higher shutter speed because we love to have that wide open aperture of one. In the case that I'm going to show you these examples with the 85mm Canon on the 5D, 1.8 aperture, versus what I'll show you also, an f11 aperture. So what that does is we got to have that high speed shutter to cut down that light. And so what we need is high speed sync. But what is high speed sync? Why do we need that? Well, we need that because let's say that Canon really doesn't want to sync any more than 1/160th of a second with normal flash. So what happens is when we take the picture above that, we don't see any flash at all. It's just a dark picture. So we increase the shutter speed and end up with a darker picture, which is where we need flash. But now when we go beyond 1/160th of a second, if there's not a high speed sync, in other words, if there's not a flash that can sync with the camera at that higher shutter speed, well then there's going to be a problem getting flash. We'll talk about ways to get around that as well. So one of the things I noticed was using my 5D with the Cells 2 trigger, which allows for high-speed sync, is when I put the Godox V8 550, and every flash has this option, into high-speed sync mode. It allows me to go to speeds that are higher. So what does it do, how does it do that, and why does it do that? Well, what it does is it takes the flash, which is normally really quick, bam, it flashes very quickly, 1/160th of a second and under. What happens is it, for the shutter speeds of 1/160th of a second and under, what happens is it ends up being a flash that is a longer duration light source. What happens is this light needs to be synced to that high speed action. And sometimes it needs to be open a little bit longer, or the light needs to be projecting light a little bit longer than what might be expected. So it needs to be lit up long enough for the sweep to go across the sensor. And it is taking longer than, let's say we got the max shutter speed of 1/1/8,000th. It's taking longer than 1/1/8,000th of a second for this to happen. But each portion of the sensor is only exposed for 1/1/8,000th of a second. And that light source, the flash, needs to stay on while it completes its sweep. So while this small portion right here, if it's opened up a little bit, let's say that's my middle finger is the bottom curtain and that's the top curtain, it opens up a little bit as it rides down, the black area being the sensor. As it rides down, well, it takes just the second here that it just did right here is 1/1/8,000th, but it's got to do that all the way down the sensor, and that light source needs to be open. So while we have high-speed sync, the high-speed sync actually it gives us the flash that we need to eliminate those harsh shadows created by that bright light. Now, so if we have high-speed sync, and take a look at this, I'm going to show you what high-speed sync, what it looks like without high-speed sync. Whoa, and I've properly exposed for the bright sunlight. When we add flash, we just blow everything out. Now that's if we go to our max shutter speed without high speed sync of 1/160th, look at that picture. That's not looking good. Everything's blown out. If we take a look at the exposed for the bright light, well, our subject is all dark now. And then if we use high-speed sync and we get the flash at the large aperture opening of 1.8, well, then we get a proper exposure. Now, if we take the aperture and we use that to control light, well, then we lose that buttery soft background. As you can see in this picture, it's very clear that the light source, or the sun, so to speak, in this case is just 3 lights in a light stand behind the subject, being the model truck, acting as the sun. And you can see that that does control the light. You get a pretty good exposure of the subject, and if you were going to crop in, it might work. So we use high-speed sync to do that. So do what I've done here. Take a kid, a kitten, a pair of sunglasses, a model truck, whatever you want. Recreate the sun, or actually go out in the sun. Set it on a table, have them stand there, do whatever you want, and recreate this situation. Now, let's say you're in a position like I am, where you have this camera, the Sony A7R. I made it to a 7200 f4 Sony lens, and you don't have any Sony flashes that are compatible with high-speed sync. Because my Cells 2 trigger, the trigger on my Canon 5D, is specific to Canon, and it's only going to work with Canon. I don't have any Sony flashes. I have my manual flashes, and I can't perform high-speed sync with my Sony. What am I going to do there? Or let's say I don't have a trigger and I want to use off-camera flash. I don't want to mount a TTL Canon compatible flash, or I have a manual flash and I don't have the ability to create high-speed sync. How do I get around that? Well, one of the ways you get around it is an ND filter. And an ND filter is going to help you to control the light and still use off-camera flash at the normal sync speeds. Well, while this camera with the trigger will only go up to 1/160th of a second, I can go up to 1/250th of a second, or as fast as 1/250th of a second, with my Sony. Now, that's by no means high speed, but I can place an ND filter that lowers the amount of light that gets into the lens and use at 1/250th of a second or slower. I can use normal flash. So I put my trigger, my transmitter trigger on my Sony. I have my off-camera flash, and this is the result you get when using normal flash speeds or sync speeds, not high-speed sync. And I can do the same with my Canon. So the example I'm going to show you here is actually with the Canon and a variable adjustable ND filter that goes from ND2 to ND400, and this is about ND8. And so it's in this example you'll see compared to the original example here, which is the f1.8 high-speed sync. I believe the shutter speed, it's going to appear on the screen, but I believe the shutter speed is 1/3200th of a second, and off-camera flash, and we get this result. Now, let's say I don't have the ability to do high-speed sync. I can't go above 1/160th of a second. I use the filter, and I get this result right here. So, by using high-speed sync, I can control the light and keep that big opening with the lens. And by using an ND filter when I don't have high-speed sync, I can still control the light and still use my flash. Now, some people are going to argue, and they're probably correct, that anytime you place anything between the lens and the subject, you're degrading image quality. Because I put the ND filter on the end of the lens, I'm placing the filter between the lens and the subject.
And whenever that happens, I do degrade image quality to a degree. But you have to look at the images and decide for yourself, is it acceptable? Look at the difference between this with the filter and now without the filter. Now this is with the filter. Now look at some of the highlights down here in the lower portion of the picture. Now this is without the filter. So you'll see you get some more, the reflections, I believe, look a little bit more natural as a picture like this can look. But for your particular situation, you have to try it both ways. Now the great thing about the Cells 2 trigger is that they're really not that expensive. You can get this, you get 2 of these in a box, and I think they run about 40 or 50 bucks. And then you can get the receiver that you can buy for about $10 or $12 each for the V850 Godox flash. I believe Neewer also makes this similar, the same exact flash, just branded Neewer. These are available at Adorama, Amazon, B&H, eBay, and you can get these flashes for about $100 each with the battery. And by the way, these are great flashes. They come with a rechargeable lithium-ion battery. You don't have to constantly be putting AA's in. And this goes for about 500 triggers. I've got up to 250, 300, and just didn't go anymore. I haven't exhausted one completely, unless I've turned the sleep timer off on the flash and just left the flash on overnight. And it was still on, and then it starts to get low. So you get the little trigger that attaches to the side, and that's good enough to sync with the Godox Cells 2 transmitter or trigger. This is the receiver on the flash. But as you know, nobody shoots Canon or Nikon anymore. We all just shoot Sony mirrorless. Okay, yeah, not true, right? Because here I am shooting with my Canon, and I have more Canons in the cabinet, and I have the Sony that you're watching me on, and I have the Sony A7R. I love my Sony A6000, I love my Sony A7R, and I'm going to love my Sony A7R too, and I'm going to love my Canon 5D-SR. So I'm not going to be a Sony hater or a Canon hater. But like as I said, everybody now just shoots Nikon. Or did I say Sony? Wait a second. We shoot what we need for the situation. Is that right? We do. All right, great. Hey, everybody, I appreciate you putting up with the video. Probably a little long-winded. Please like if you liked. Dislike if you didn't. It's okay. And please click subscribe and go visit the website www.hanksreviews.com. That's hanksreviews.com and hankphotography.com. Please, again, like if you liked and dislike if you don't like, and subscribe. Please leave a comment below. All right? Thanks.